Today, we're diving into a really powerful story. It's a parable that uses something as simple as a vineyard to pretty much challenge everything we think we know about being good. It's a journey into what it means to be whole, and it all kicks off with one crucial observation. You know, that single sentence, that's the heart of this entire story. It's this paradox that forces us to ask a really, really uncomfortable question. I mean, really let that sink in for a second. What if our constant struggle for perfection, for weeding out every single flaw, is the very thing that's making us weak, sterile, even? This story just jumps right into that unsettling possibility. So let's get into the story. We've got our characters, and they're being led by this figure called the Jester. They arrive at a vineyard, but right away you can tell something is terribly, terribly wrong. The soil is white, caked with salt, and the vines, they're just stunted and dying. And you have to understand the motivation here, because it's key. The owner wasn't some evil villain. He had the purest of intentions. He truly believed that to create the perfect vineyard, to get these absolutely holy grapes, he had to wage total war on anything he considered unclean. And this just perfectly illustrates the consequence, doesn't it? In his mission to destroy everything bad, he destroyed the very conditions for life itself. The soil that nourished the weed was the exact same soil that the vine needed to live. By trying to create a perfectly pure place, he just made a desert. Okay, so this is where the Jester steps in. He looks at this salted earth, and he doesn't just see a failed farm. No, he sees a perfect metaphor for a failed way of life. And he offers this incredibly powerful diagnosis of this obsession with purity. Wow, that is a heavy statement. The Jester doesn't see this quest for purity as a virtue at all. He calls it a slow suicide of the spirit, a philosophy that denies the messy, complex reality of life and turns your inner world into, well, a cemetery. So he lays out these two completely opposite paths. You've got the path of purity on one side. The goal there is to become empty, clean, a vacuum. But here's the thing about a vacuum. It can't create anything. It can only collapse inward on itself. It turns you into just a fragment of a person. But then, on the other side, you have the path of wholeness. This path isn't about becoming empty. It's about becoming a whole world. It thrives on the tension of its own opposites. It's not a path of subtraction, but of creation.
So, okay, if purity is the poison, then what's the antidote? The Jester has one, and it's definitely not some clear, pristine water. He pulls out a flask filled with this dark, murky, impure brew. He calls it the wine of wholeness.
And just look at the ingredients. They tell you everything you need to know. This isn't some clean liquid. It's made from the entire harvest, especially the parts we're all taught to throw away. The bitter skins of anger, the sweet rush of passion, and those dark, heavy seeds of our own shadow. The parable is saying that true wholeness needs all of it, fermenting together. This brew, it represents what the Jester calls Dionysian chaos. Think of it as that raw, untamed, wild life force that's inside all of us. Yeah, it's creative, but it can also be destructive. The goal isn't to kill it or even tame it. The goal is to integrate it. Wholeness, he's arguing, isn't about finding some kind of static, boring peace. It's about being strong enough to command this dynamic, chaotic vitality inside your own soul. And this is what you become. The person who pulls this off is no longer just a fragment. They become a complete ecosystem, a whole world unto themselves. They have the strength to contain all of their own contradictions, the predator and the prey, the light and the dark, all inside oneself. So this is a cool idea. But what happens when you actually put it into practice? When the Jester's companions drink this wine, the effect is profound. It's not just some intellectual idea. It's a visceral, physical transformation. They feel a terrifying vitality. And think about that word, terrifying. It's terrifying because it's power without the usual breaks of guilt. In that one moment, they just cast off these psychological chains that had been holding back their own strength their whole lives. This is a complete flip of morality. It's suggesting that the things we've been taught to label as sin or a flaw, maybe they're not something to be destroyed. Maybe they're just raw material, like the unrefined ore from which greatness can be forged. And this leads us to this really powerful new way of thinking about self-development. The focus shifts from the mirror, constantly looking at yourself and judging your reflection, to the garden, seeing yourself as a plot of earth that needs active, hands-on cultivation. So the Jester tells them to become vine dressers of the self. And here's the how-to. First, See your shadow, your darkness, not as poison, but as manure for your spirit. Without it, your fruits will be flavorless. Second, guide your impulses. Don't try to kill them off. Third, real growth comes from digging deeper into your own unconscious soil, not by trying to escape from it. And finally, the ultimate act, to say a huge, powerful yes to everything you are.
You see, the Jester kind of scoffs at the idea of a heavenly reward or getting likes on social media. He insists the only true kingdom, the only real source of power and creativity is found inside, in the dark, fertile soil of your own integrated psyche. And then it hits them. The companions finally realize this brutal truth. Their whole quest for purity, it was never really about virtue. It was a mask for their fear of their own power, their own potential. It was just cowardice, dressed up to look like morality.
So after this massive transformation, the Jester turns his back on the salted vineyard. He leaves that wasteland to the timid souls who will just keep scrubbing the earth into dust, and he leads his companions toward the mountains, toward the future.
Their new path is guided by this incredible concept, amor fati, a love of one's fate. Now, this isn't just passive resignation like, oh, well, I guess this is my life. No, it's an active, joyful, radical acceptance of everything that makes you who you are. It means loving the salt that tried to kill the vines just as much as you love the soil that gives them life. And this fundamentally changes how they move through the world. They're not tentative anymore, not apologetic. They walk with a heavy, certain step, the kind of confidence that only comes from someone who has faced their own inner darkness and is no longer afraid of what they might find down there. And this brings us to the final, brilliant moral of the whole parable. The definition of impurity gets completely turned on its head. It's not about having dark thoughts or destructive impulses. The only real impurity, the only real sin in this new value system is stagnation. It's the refusal to grow. So we end up right back where we started, with a question, but this time it's for you. If you look at your own life as a vineyard, with all its weeds and vines, its sweet fruits and its bitter skins, what part of your own harvest are you just letting rot on the ground because you've decided it's impure? What potential greatness are you refusing to press into wine